This morning, we're going to talk about best practices for using Project Online and Power BI together to unlock information that's really buried across your organization that is really helpful for making timely decisions. If I think about what happens with a lot of our customers today, I want to give you a quick example. I had a customer last year that had 13,000 project managers working independently across their organization. They were all using Project, but management didn't have any way to look across all those project plans to understand what was going on. Every month, the PMs would kind of produce a report for their managers, and those managers would synthesize that data and send it up. And by the time that information got to senior managers, it was outdated, no longer relevant, and they were now making fairly high-level decisions with data that was stale. And so, one of the things that we want to talk about today is how to take all that information, bring it together, and make it a lot more useful. By using Project Online, what you can do is you can have each one of your users go in and save their projects to new locations. You can take those projects, instead of saving them as MPP files, saving them up into the cloud. By saving them into the cloud, you can start to put some standards in place that will help you look across that information. And what Stratada does using Power BI and some of their tools is they give you the ability to take snapshots of that data and look and see how things are changed over time. So I've been doing this for Microsoft for quite a while, and one of the things that customers have asked us forever is, how do I get started easily? So we generally recommend using a partner to come in and help you look at all the strategies that you want to employ and get that rolled out across your organization. But a lot of customers said, I just want to get started quickly and easily. So what I did was I went and I recorded a series of YouTube videos, and what those let you do is it takes you through a 12-step process of how do I create my environment, how do I do some basic configuration, and just get started. And the whole idea is not to replace the partners. If you want to do the more sophisticated stuff, we still highly recommend using our project partners. But if you just need to get started, my YouTube channel has got, again, those 12 kind of quick videos, and each one of those is only 3 to 5 minutes, so they're very easy to consume. And what does that do for you? Well, once you've gone through the videos and set up the environment, the very first thing you're going to have access to is a list of all the projects that everybody's working on. So it gives you that visibility that you don't have today with everybody working on MPP files spread across the organization. And then you can start to do some things like implement some graphical indicators showing you the relative status of those fields, or of those projects rather. And you can make those subjective or calculated. And generally what I like to recommend is that the overall indicator is the subjective assessment by the project managers. And then you set up a calculated field for cost and schedule to give you the insight that all projects are being measured from the same point of view. And over here on the side, I can see my baseline and my current plan on top. So I can get a real quick view of all those projects just by changing where that information is stored. So instead of an MPP file, we're saving it into the cloud, into Project Online. Then the next thing the videos will show you how to do is how to create a custom field. So in this example, I've created a field called Portfolio, and then we can start to align our projects to those portfolios. So I can see that I've got 3 projects in the service portfolio, a handful over in reduce expenses, so on and so forth. And what it's going to do for you is also roll up your financials. And so what the videos will do, will walk you through how to set up, create these fields, and then publish your projects. Now, once you actually drill into a project by clicking on the hyperlink, you'll be able to see that schedule, again, from anywhere on any device at any time. So instead of having to reach out to the project manager and find out what the current status is, the whole idea is now we can share this information very easily, so I can get in and see what's the current schedule. I can see this task is the one that's causing our slip in our project plan. So being able to save this data into the cloud, making it readily available for anybody that needs to have access to it, can really improve your decision making. One of the other things that Project Online brings to the table is it now gives us the ability to have a project site where we can store all the artifacts regarding our projects. So what I can see here is I've got high-level timeline view of that same project. I can see if there's any issues related to this project, any documents related to this project, and you can even track risks as well. So being able to have that collaborative environment for anybody to get in and see what's happening on your projects is really a powerful element to get in and see that information. Now, if you want to get to the more advanced topics around project, this is where we do absolutely recommend you engage a partner. If I want to have a centralized resource pool and start to do capacity planning where all my projects are sharing that resource pool, that's more than just saving your projects to the cloud. That really is kind of a more advanced topic that we want to make sure that, don't get frustrated. We've got partners out there that can help you do that. And that's something you can definitely look forward to as kind of a phase 2 for a lot of those deployments. Any questions before I move on from anybody out there? All right, what I want to do now is I want to hand it off to Drew, and he's going to show you how to connect Power BI and Project Online together and actually how to do some basic reports. Drew, over to you.
All right, thank you, Jeff, and thank you everyone once again for joining us. And in my portion of the presentation, the question that I really want to seek to answer is, how can I create more dynamic reports and streamline my analysis to better understand my portfolio and solve critical problems? Now, while the entire Power BI ecosystem will really help you accomplish this, as it's a very dynamic analytics platform, there are 3 key features in Power BI that I really want to focus on, namely buttons, bookmarks, and drill through. Now, buttons and bookmarks really go hand in hand, and with them you can do things like navigate between reports, change measures and categories and visuals, change visuals themselves, and utilize a Q&A feature. With drill through, what that allows you to do is essentially drill through from one report to another report carrying over a particular filter context. For example, let's say you wanted to drill through on a particular enterprise project type. You could carry that filter over to another report, and that report would be filtered based on that filter context. And if that's confusing now, it'll become very clear once I demonstrate that to you. So starting off initially, I was going to demonstrate how to connect to your project online data using the OData feed in Power BI. However, for the sake of time, we're going to bypass that. And we do, however, have a video up on our YouTube channel where I demonstrate that, and so we will provide the link for that. So to start with, I'm actually going to show you how to quickly create a report in Power BI before creating any kind of measures or DAX calculations. And to start that, I'm actually going to go ahead now and share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. And just let me know when you can see it. All right, you should be able to see it now. And so here we are in Power BI Desktop, and after I demonstrate this, then I'm going to go into show you a couple of our reports in our Project Online Report Pack, where we've implemented these key features of buttons, bookmarks, and drill through. That way you get a really good understanding of how these can be utilized in your reports. And then I'll demonstrate to you how you yourself can create these, how you yourself can configure this. And then I'll conclude with a look at some advanced analytics or advanced visuals. So here in Power BI Desktop, I have a sample project online data model here, just 3 tables: projects, risks, and issues. And I haven't created any calculated measures or columns. And I'm going to show you how easy and quick it is to start gaining insight from your data without creating any measures. And so this is going to be a quick risks report with 3 simple visuals. So to start with, I'm going to create a horizontal bar chart. And on the X or on the axis, I'm going to place project name. And then we're going to look at the count of risks by project. So I'll just click on risk here, move that to the values. And here we see the number of risks associated with each project. And I can actually go into here, into the paintbrush, and do some formatting. So I'll expand the y-axis, and I'll enlarge the maximum size to 50%. And that allows us to see more clearly the project names. And then I'll turn off the x-axis, and instead I'll turn on the data labels. So now I can see the counts right here. So there's our first visual, quick and easy. When I fed in that categorical field, risks, it automatically, Power BI automatically counted it. So we're going to create another visual here. We'll do a column chart, a little smaller. And this will be categories on the axis. And again, risks, count of risks, move that to values. And so now we're seeing the count of risks by risk category. So 2 visuals down, and I'm going to show you one more. And this one is called a risk matrix. So this will be a scatter plot. And on the x-axis, I'm going to have impact. And the y-axis is going to be probability. And then the details is going to be risk. So here we see our risks, and I'm going to do some quick formatting here. I'm going to first click on probability and change the data type up here to percentage. So now we see percentages here. And I'm going to go into the x-axis. Since the max value for impact is 10, I'm actually going to make the start 0 and the end value 11 rather than 10. That way I can see 10 here, and it's not right up against the edge of the visual. And then I'm going to go into Y, the Y-axis, and essentially do the same thing. Start at 0% and end it at 100%. And then I'm going to go over here to the Analytics tab, and I'm going to add some constant lines on the X and Y axes. So I'll just expand that and click Add for the X constant line, and this is going to be 5, so it's right there in the middle of the impact, and I'll just change this to a light gray. Do the same thing for the Y constant, and this one will be 0.5 for 50%, and change to a light gray. And so here we have a project risk matrix. And so obviously the data points in the upper right quadrant here are the ones that are most critical. So in a matter of minutes, without writing any DAX, any calculated measures or columns, we're able to start gaining insight from our data. And that really does demonstrate the power and flexibility of Power BI. So in conclusion to that, then I'm going to transition now over to looking at our project online report pack. I'm just going to bring it up here. And I want to show you a couple reports that feature buttons, bookmarks, and drill through so that you can see it really in action. And what you're looking at here is the home navigation page of our project online report pack. And this itself is really a good example of what you can do with buttons and bookmarks. Because when I click on data exploration here, this button, it's going to take me to the data exploration report. So that's using buttons and bookmarks. And then, so now that we're at this report, the idea behind this report is that sometimes you come to your data and you don't have a particular question in mind, you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you just want to kind of generate some questions. And that's kind of the idea behind this report. So as you see now, all of these visuals currently show cost-related metrics. But maybe the end user wants the flexibility to view other kind of metrics. And so by clicking on work, I now see all the visuals now show work-related metrics. And if I click on duration, they all see duration-related metrics. So this adds a lot of flexibility to your reports. Again, this is utilizing buttons and bookmarks, and it really does create this kind of web app-like look and feel to your reports where you just click a button and something happens. There's action, something changes, something moves. And then over here, if we click on this Q&A button, I'll have to bring up, that will have to be in the desktop view, I think. I don't have that open right now, but basically I'll explain what that does. What that would do is it would basically pop open a Q&A window in the desktop where you have the flexibility of asking questions of your data. And so again, it's really useful for exploring your data. This used to only be available in dashboards and Power BI service. Now you can use it in Power BI desktop. So it's really helpful, especially for report developers as they try to understand the data. One of the major differences though, however, is that in the desktop, you're not able to pin the visual to the report, whereas in the dashboard in the Power BI service, when you do utilize Q&A, you are able to pin visuals to the dashboard. So I'm going to click on this home icon here. Again, this is buttons and bookmarks, and it's going to take us back to the home navigation page. So now I'm going to show you how we've implemented drill through. And to do that, I'm going to go over here to Portfolio Summary. And the idea behind this report is to kind of obviously give you a summary of your data, so kind of high-level context. And with a report like this, you may want to drill into more detail. And so let's say, for whatever reason, you want to look into the enterprise project type of new construction. So what I can do is I can come over here to this visual, right-click on this new construction data point, and you see drill through down here. And you see that there are 3 reports that I can drill through to. This is because I've configured these reports to be able to be drilled through on for this field, for this category of enterprise project type. So for this demo, I'm going to drill through to Portfolio Details View. And so now we're only seeing the projects associated with new construction. And then we see all of the granular details of those projects, so drilling into the details. And then it doesn't have to stop there though. I can drill through even further. So I can, for example, go on Bay Plaza here on this project, right click, go to drill through, and now I have all of these reports that I can drill through to on this project. Let's say I want to look at the risks associated with Bay Plaza, and here I see all of the risks associated with that project. And then if I want to navigate back, kind of step backwards, I can use this back arrow here. And then go back to the home navigation page. So that's a quick demo of how we've implemented these key features in our report pack, and should give you a good understanding of the capabilities of what you can accomplish with these features. Now that we've seen those features in action, I want to show you, how to do this from scratch essentially, how you yourself can configure this in your own reports. And to do that, I'm going to bring up this Power BI desktop here. And this PBIX file contains some sample reports that I put together for the sake of this demonstration. And I'm essentially going to show you how to implement powers or buttons, bookmarks, and drill through on this data set here. So let's start with this navigation section here. Let's say I want to create a button here that navigates to a report. In order to do that, first I need to create a bookmark for that report. So I'm going to go here to Portfolio Summary, and then I'm going to go up here to View, and I need to check the option here, Bookmarks Pane. And you see here, now we have the Bookmarks pane. And if I click on this, it collapses it, and I can bring it back open. So to create this bookmark for Portfolio Summary, I just have to click Add, and then I'll double click on here and rename it to the name of the report. Okay, so now that we have that bookmark created, I'll go back to the navigation page. I'll go to the Home tab, and here we find the buttons. Now, as you drop this down, you see there are a lot of different options for buttons. And these ones up here have default actions to them. For example, if I chose the Q&A button, and I can demonstrate that here actually. So if I click this, this opens up the Q&A window. So for example, I could type cost by project name, and it starts generating these visuals. And I can even change the way the data is visualized. I could say as column, and now it's a column chart. And I could say sort by cost, and now it's sorted. And then I can say descending, and now it's in descending order. So this is a really neat feature that allows you to explore your data in more depth. So that's the default action for this Q&A button. But for this demonstration, I want the blank button. And I'm going to bring this down here, make it a little bigger, and I'm going to come over here and add the font to it. And we're going to type in there the name of the report that we want to navigate to. In this case, Portfolio Summary. And I'll just make the font bold. Now, as you can see here, there's a lot of formatting capabilities here. I don't have the time to detail all of that, but it's at least good to know that you have a lot of functionality here. For example, I can make it where if I hover over a button, the color changes or the font changes. So you have a lot of options there. Now, in order to link this button to the Portfolio Summary report, all I have to do is turn on the action and choose the bookmark under type, the type of action, and then I'll choose the Portfolio Summary bookmark. Now, since I'm in Power BI Desktop, technically I'm in edit mode. So if I click on the button, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't take me to the report. It just highlights the button because I'm in edit mode. So when you're in Power BI Desktop, you have to hold down Control and then click on the button, and it takes us to the report. Now, once I publish this to the Power BI service, I won't have to hold down Control to click on the button. So then we can go over here to this other report, click Add, and type in Portfolio Details. Go back to navigation, and we'll just copy and paste here. And all I have to do here is change the name to Portfolio Details. And then I'll change the action to the Portfolio Details bookmark. And now when I click on this button, it takes me to the Portfolio Details report. So again, this really makes it easy to navigate between reports, really streamlines it rather than kind of clicking through one tab to the next. And that's especially useful if you have dozens of reports in your report package. All right, so next we'll go to this visual toggle here. And as you can see here, I already have something created, and I'm going to explain to you how you yourself can create this. So sometimes you want to give your end users the freedom to visualize the data in a way that they specifically want to visualize it. Maybe they don't want to visualize this data in a horizontal bar chart. Maybe they want to visualize it in a scatter plot. And so with buttons and bookmarks, you can give them that freedom. So for example, if I click scatter plot, the same data visualized differently. And each visual has its own pros and cons. So this is really useful, really flexible. For example, with scatter plot, we can easily see correlations and outliers, which aren't as easily discernible when viewing the same data in a bar plot. So now let me show you how to create this yourself. So we'll go to a blank page here, and I'm going to start by creating this bar chart. All right, and the axis is going to be project name, and the measures we're going to do cost and actual cost. I'm not going to worry about formatting right now. So there we have our bar chart, and now I'm going to create a scatter plot, and it's going to be kind of difficult to work with the scatter plot with this other plot on here. So what I can do is I can go to view and click on selection pane, and that pops up here. And what I can do is I can essentially hide visuals by clicking on this icon over here. So I just want to show the scatter plot for now, and I'll put the same data in there, cost on the x-axis, actual cost on the y, and the details will be the project name. Okay, so now I'm going to create the buttons for these visuals. And again, I'll use blank buttons here. And this one I'll name bar. And just a simple copy paste. And this one we'll call scatter. Okay, so now we need to create the bookmarks for these visuals. So for this one, I'll click add, and this is our scatter plot, so I'll call this one scatter plot. All right, and now I need to hide the scatter plot and show the bar plot, and click add, and we'll call this one bar plot. Okay, now I need to just link these buttons up to these visuals. This one is bar plot. And this one is scatter plot. All right, so here's where the magic happens. If I click on scatter now we see the scatter plot, and we can go back between them. Dynamic feature, and again, the same principle, same concept, you can create what you saw in our report pack, where I switched between the measures in the reports or in the visuals. So a lot of flexibility here. You really do get to use your imagination. To wrap up this demo, I'm going to now show how to configure drill through. So basically, I want to be able to drill through from this report to these other reports. So what I do is over here you see the drill through section in the visualizations pane, and I just need to drag the fields over here that I want to be able to drill through on. So for this one, I just want to be able to drill through on project. So I'll bring project name over here. And for the portfolio details, I want to bring over, I'll just bring over the program. Bring over program. Okay, and that's all you have to do to configure it. And so I'll go back to portfolio summary. And let's say I'm looking at this report and I want to drill into the Grand Forks program. All I have to do is right click on this data point. We see the drill through option here now because we've configured other reports to be drilled through. And so we're only seeing the portfolio details report, not the project status report, because I didn't configure the project status report to drill through on program. I only configured it to drill through on project. So I'll click on portfolio details, And now we only see the projects associated with Grand Forks. And then if I want to, I can right click on any project in here and drill through to project status. So that's how easy it is to configure and implement buttons, bookmarks, and drill through in your reports. And some people have really put together some really creative visuals and concepts in the reports. These are features that you really get to play around with and use your imagination with. So that wraps up this demo of the buttons, bookmarks, and drill through. Now I'm going to quickly show you some advanced visuals. So here we have some custom visuals. This first one here is our custom Gantt chart. And as you can see here, these gray bars represent project baselines. So for instance, if I scroll over here, I see that these two projects have extended timelines compared to their baselines. And then also, you see several purple diamonds throughout here. What those diamonds represent are milestones. So this allows you to see upcoming milestones or whether or not milestones have been completed. And there's also several other formatting capabilities with this custom visualization. For instance, there's color formats you can change. You can change the width of the bars. Even this category section over here, you can change the width of that. So a lot of customization here. And then we also have here a task board custom visual. So as agile project management is becoming more and more popular and important in companies, we decided to create this custom task board visual to help customers in that area. So it gives you another approach of visualizing your data from many angles. So as you can see here, we have various swim lanes, each representing a sprint. And within the sprints, we have various tasks that are color-coded by priority. And you can even minimize and expand these sprint swim lanes.
So Drew, that's really leveraging the new capabilities built into Project Pro where I can do agile planning. Now we can publish that data into Power BI and visualize it with this custom visual you built, right?
Exactly, yep.
And pretty much anybody can build these custom visuals in Power BI. It's not something that they've got to reach out to you for. That's capabilities that are built in.
Right.
Cool.
Yep. And then one other quick visual. Now this one's different than the others in that the other ones are what's formally known as custom visuals, which utilize JavaScript and HTML. This one, while it looks like a custom visual, is actually developed using a built-in visual in Power BI, and that's the horizontal stacked bar chart. So with some tweaks, with a little bit of magic, we were able to put together this risk scale. So as I click on program, it slices the visual and you see the needle move up and down the scale. And so this is just another example of what's capable in Power BI, of what can be accomplished in Power BI, and of thinking outside of the box. And so that pretty much wraps up my portion of our presentation. And I'll take any questions if anyone has any. And if no questions, Jeff, you can take it back.
All right, thank you. Let me share my desktop out again. And you should all see it here momentarily. So while that's coming up, one of the things that Drew was focused on throughout the presentation was how to use Project Online data as it comes out of the box. And it really, it's a powerful way to get that data in a timely way. It can be updated throughout the day, every night, as frequently as you want those reports updated and published out to your crowd. But another thing that really excites me about what Stratada has done is the fact that they've built this Snapshot Engine. And the Snapshot Engine Well, take your project online data and make a copy of it as frequently as you want. And what that lets you do is see how history has changed on your projects. It'll even track how your baselines have changed, your cost data has changed. Every element of your project data, we can see how that's changing over time. And that gives us incredible insight that you may not have. And I can tell you another story on how that can be very useful. A few years back, I was doing some work with the government, and every month they would get their reports delivered to them, and it would show them the current status from their contractors on delivering a weapon system. And each month they'd get those reports, and then the next month they would come in and they would literally hold the reports up to the light to see what had changed from month to month. But with a product like Stratada, it will actually look at those changes from month to month and highlight the differences. And let me continue the example. If we have a baseline and a current plan that's showing, say, a 2 or 3 month slip, you might say to yourself, do I care about that 2 or 3 month slip? Well, the answer is, I don't know if I care because I don't know how it's changed over the last 3 or 4 months. But by capturing those snapshots and overlaying them on top of one another, I could see not only what's today's answer for the current finish date, but what was it last week and the week before and the week before. So you can start to look for instability in your cost and schedule data, so you can then forecast where are the problem elements within my plan or within my projects or within my portfolio. Stratada gives you, the Stratada Time Intelligence product gives you the ability to look inside that data and really understand how your budgets are changing and how your schedules are changing in a near real-time fashion, so you can make an informed decision. So what I want to do is take a moment and show you what some of those things look like as we're looking at it in more of a time-phased manner. So as I go to this historical comparison report, what this is showing me is how my cost has changed, my cost curve has changed for all of my projects during a specific time frame. Down inside of the report itself, I can see, has my cost KPI or my work KPI changed since the last status period? So I can get in here and I can see very quickly what's changed on those particular reports. And in fact, I can say, well, how are we doing on just our Agile projects? And it's going to come up and show me how things have changed on my Agile projects within the portfolio. I can see cost changes, work changes, duration changes. I can see what's happening within those projects really easily across my portfolio. Now, additionally, maybe I want to understand what that looks like from just a pure time phase cost and cost variance by project, as well as work and work variance by project. So I can now see what that looks like over time, what changes have occurred. So if I'm a PMO manager or a portfolio manager or a program manager, I can bring up my collection of projects and understand how we're performing as an organization and how are the trends changing over time. The next one that I really like is, again, drilling into those details, but also providing some statistical forecasting. So if I look, for example, at this cost variance report here in the middle, this is showing me how cost variance has changed, and here's today's date, and here's the statistical forecast, just using standard statistical techniques, of what cost could happen within that particular portfolio or type of projects or projects by project manager. So I can see that it could range from negative 98 up to $137,000 in cost variance. So as a program manager, I might want to balance my funding from one project to another to cover some of these potential overages that are coming at me. As I continue to drill in, I really like this report because what it shows me is also the ability to see all this data in a time-phased motion. And one of the features in Power BI is to turn on this time indicator where I'll be able to see things moving on the screen as they're changing. And you'll notice that projects are coming in, and what I'm looking at here on my x-axis is baseline cost for the portfolio, and here's actual cost on the y-axis. And I can see how projects are changing over time, what's happening with my baseline and my actual cost across my projects. And if it's time's going too slow, I can just pick that up and I can move it. So I can go to specific points in time if I want to see exactly what things were. And I can even come back, and on any of these projects, I can say, well, how has this project transitioned over time? It'll show me how this one has actually moved over time from both an actual and a baseline cost point of view. So it gives you, again, that insight that you wouldn't have without manually comparing a lot of information. Next, I want to jump in and talk about something as simple as weekly status reports, where this is really helpful is being able to compare 1 week's versus another over time. So what this is showing me is for a given time frame, what was the health, cost, and schedule, what were the actual accomplishments, issues, risks, and plans, and some of this can be text that somebody's written in a project PDP field, and some of it can come from the risk and issue list. And then over time, I can see how did the comments change about their accomplishments and what are the plans going forward. So as a program manager or somebody that's overseeing project managers, I can get in and I can compare what'd you tell me last week and the week before, how is that changing over time, so that again we can look for those outliers and we can start to understand where those issues are. Another one that we have that I like, I'm just going to show you from a PowerPoint view, is the ability to look at those status reports but actually use a slider bar to see how things have changed. So here's my last week's accomplishments, here's how we're doing in each phase, and if I move back a week, well, what has changed both from an indicator point of view on my cost, schedule, and scope, for my comments from last week. It just gives you that insight that you're going to lose if you're not snapshotting this data over time. Let me come back to here real quickly. And let me pause and see, are there any questions out there that either Drew or I can answer so far? All right, let's continue. So the next one is, again, that weekly project status report that we were looking at, and it's actually in here as well. So I can either look at them side by side or I can navigate through them. Then I can look at changes for my cost and schedule performance. So how has CPI changed and how has SPI changed over time? And I can look at multiple project managers or a single project manager, or really however you want to slice and dice your data. If you go back to the beginning when I was showing you how I could organize things by portfolio, you can organize your data by any attribute that makes sense to you and your organization. You don't have to use these formats or these views. These can all be tailored easily to meet your very specific needs. And then the last report I want to show you is one that I really like, because what this is showing me is by project, going down the axis here, how has my health of my project changed over time. So green is showing me how many green projects I have, how many red projects I have, and how many yellow projects I have over time across my entire portfolio. And if I want to look at an individual project, I can see this Bell project was red for quite a while in July, it then turned yellow, then it snuck back into red, it turned to yellow, and now it's green. So it gives you the ability to see, again, looking at trends, how are things changing over time across my projects. And then the area diagram up above is showing me on a cumulative basis what's happening with my entire portfolio. So I can see we had the red projects thinned out through here, and then back in September, all of our projects have gone to either yellow or red. So as an executive, I might look at this and say, where are my red projects? Those are the ones I need to focus on. Let me go to those and drill into those and see what's causing them to be red. Is it outstanding risk and issues? Is it cost and schedule data? This gives you that insight to the information, again, to make a more informed decision. So with that, I want to, again, kind of open it up to questions and see if anybody has any questions on either Project Online, Power BI with Project Online, or the Stratada solutions that bolt on to make all this a little more useful.
Back to Project Online.
Hi, this is Grant PAD.
Hi, Grant.
And hi, just a question. When you're referring to the Power BI cloud platform, is that government or commercial?
It's both.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you've got Power BI available both in the government Office 365 tenants as well as the commercial Office 365 tenants.
But what we found out in our experience is that government cloud usually lags commercial.
It does.
We work with Advisicon as a system implementer integrator out of Vancouver, Washington. So that's why we're questioning if we really need to be on the government cloud, but I don't want to digress that. But
yeah, that's a whole different set of questions there.
Okay.
But yeah, the government cloud is going to be behind the commercial cloud. If you do create your own reports, you can create your own reports in Power BI at any time, and you can also create your own visuals. So that shouldn't be an issue at all.
Okay.
So in regards to your guys' pack that you're selling here, the assumption is it works cleanly in both government and commercial now?
I'm going to let one of the guys from Stratada address that, since I'm a Microsoft employee.
Yeah, I think I can provide, unless Mike wanted to answer that, I think I could provide a simple answer to that. Right now, the report pack is designed to essentially connect to your O data feed. So as long as we can access your O data feed, then your project online data can be hooked up to the report pack.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And one other thing I'd like to offer is the Stratada folks are available if you want to talk to somebody about your data structures, how you might want to look at snapshotting your data, how you just think through kind of your overall philosophy moving forward, how you want to present information to your community internally. They've got years of experience and expertise in doing that, and I know they'll offer a few hours of that to anybody that asks for it at no cost. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. If you have any questions, please reach out to success@Stratada. If you need to contact me for any reason, my name's Jeff Spencer. I'm at Microsoft, and that's jeff.spencer@microsoft.com. We want to thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you.